welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, it wasn't a good day yesterday. We went down to worship at the Great God ATM in the hope of withdrawing some money, and everything went very well until it actually came to the point where I'm supposed to get to the good part, which is to get the money. No, it didn't do that. So I gave him my card back, said that the transaction had been completed, but no money. Now, this is one of the things that can happen in the Philippines, and you have to know what to do. Now, what I've done in the past with some success is to immediately do a transaction after you've had the aborted transaction. Well, not the aborted, the abortive transaction. So what happens is you put in, you're only allowed to draw 10,000 pesos a day. That's the limit. So people have found various ways of getting around even that, of course, because the cycle, especially if it's from the US, the cycle is up to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then after 4 o'clock you're on to the next day officially from the US. So given that you know how to do that, so that you would be able to get 20,000 instead of 10, you would do your transaction, you would type in all of the required things that it will walk you through, and then it says it comes up with an option of fast cash, which means that you can go for the maximum of 10,000. So you hit 10,000, and then you should hear the machine counting the notes. That's the good news. Okay, I didn't hear that. I didn't have that pleasure yesterday. So my money has not been given to me. So now the question is, has it been taken out of my account? So the account obviously is in America. So I'm dealing on an international card, an ATM card, but it's international. So straight away, don't give up your place at the machine, because there probably will be other people waiting. So you put your card in again, and you ask for a balance. Now, if you're cautious as I am, you will have asked for the balance straight off when you first started to look for a withdrawal. So you would have looked in there. Now, let's say that it says that there's 60. Let's say there's 60,000 in your account, and you try to get 10,000. It does a transaction, tells you the transaction is complete, and then gives you your card back. Well, if it hasn't given you money, now you need to know a very important thing. You need to be able to say with certainty that the money has either come out of the account or not come out of the account. Now the thing is that logic on in a Western way, a foreigner logic would be, well, at the end of the day, there should be 10,000 too much. When they cash up, there should be an excess of 10,000. If it's taken it from your account, then that's what would be happening. It would have failed to deliver 10,000 pesos, which is what it did yesterday. It failed to deliver my 10,000, but it said that the transaction was complete. So put the card back in and go through the routine again and ask for a balance. Now in my case, the 10,000 had been taken out of the account on the screen. All right, so let's say on paper my 10,000 has gone somewhere. Certainly it's not gone to me, but it has gone somewhere. So now your next step is to go into the bank. Hopefully you've been trying to do all of this when the bank is open. So the other thing is that what you have to put up with here is very often that it will not give a paper receipt, so you've got nothing to go on. So you go into the bank and you'll speak to someone and you'll tell them what's happened, and they'll ask questions, of course, and you'll tell them that you made another transaction and that it has shown that the money has been taken from your account. Now what they told me yesterday was, well, check 1 day later, 24 hours later, and it probably will have just reinstated the money into your account. Yes, and I believe in Father Christmas too. So the money had not been given back. So now the best way of confirming this would have been if I could have gone to another bank and tried to make a withdrawal because of the rule of 10,000 only. See, so it would have, if I'd been able to do that, which I wasn't, the other bank, Metro Bank, the ATM was out of order and it wouldn't process what I wanted. So that would have been the ideal, because it would have shown that as far as the other bank was concerned, the 10,000 had been taken out of my account. I wasn't able to do that, had to go back the next day and make a withdrawal. So I'm 10,000 out at the moment. It's inconvenient. It's not the end of the story, but it's inconvenient. So now I've gone into the bank and I'm sitting with a lady who is being very kind, because she recognized me from once before, a long time ago, maybe over a year ago. That's how long it's taken me to trust that bank again, mistakenly apparently. So there is a form for this happening. So it does show you that the technology may look the same when you're dealing with the bank, but something is sadly wrong. The servicing is not right, or something is incorrect. But anyway, so she accepts the information. I tell her that it was 10,000. I tell her that it looks like it came out of my account because I did a second transaction to get the balance, and that it definitely came out of my account. So now I have to go back tomorrow, and I've already filed a complaint, and now I have to go back, and believe me, it's a hassle. Eventually what will happen is that Beth will probably go online. We do banking online, and she'll go through to the American bank and she'll tell them what happened, and they will reinstate that money. Now what happened before is it got very, very messy, and they reinstated the 10,000 as they should, because it had been taken out, and then sometime months later I found that they'd taken it back again. So kind of looks like the last time I lost 10,000 pesos. It's not the end of the world, but you know, I think about 10,000 pesos is it's better in my pocket than in the bank, in their account. So this is yet another way of looking at what life is like here. Mind you, it's happened twice in 7 years. So you really have to look at what the inconveniences are and how you're going to handle them. And it doesn't seem to be such a big thing to me that 10,000 has gone amiss somewhere. It's not because I'm rich, because that account holds only my pension. So when I go and I draw on that, I've just got a certain number of withdrawals that I can do on that on that account, and then there's nothing in that account. And the bank in the US know that that's what it's for. Now here's another anomaly, is that what I found is that going in multiples of 10,000, I can have my number, my given number for the month. And then there's maybe 1,200 or 200 or 1,400 is still left in there. Now it costs you 250 pesos to make that withdrawal made against the bank here, but that's not all. I think that in America they charge you about $5 to make an ATM withdrawal. So that $5 is times however many payments you can get on your 10,000 a day. So if you can get 405, it's going to cost you $25. And $25 translated, converted into exchange for pesos is worth having. In pesos, it's worth having. $25 doesn't seem like a whole lot, but of course, have to admit that in the States, had I lost $25 at the ATM machine, I would also be a little bit concerned. I would want that money for myself. But that 1,000 pesos just seems to disappear. So I have to leave that in there, otherwise I will be going overdrawn. So it's one of those things that you have to know about. Now, the other thing that I should mention for anyone who's planning on coming here, the reason that I keep my account from my US pension, the reason I keep that going into an American bank is because I'm also registered in Amazon.com for sales of my books, and so that's all been set up, and I'm loath to disturb that. It's just yet another thing that can go wrong. So Murphy's out there just waiting to pounce on me. Sometimes I feel quite paranoid about it. So I've left that so that it continues to operate within Amazon. For the few books that I will sell, then I have 3 books, and Beth has 1 book, and we have those, and occasionally we get a little bit of an extra boost into our economy for the week or for the month, and that happens because I've left the American bank account intact. So that may be something that you might decide to do for your own reasons. We have a Filipino bank for my British pension, and we never seem to have any problems with that. We can go, we don't get charged 250 pesos plus the $5 at the other end. That's all taken care of here, and it's not so excessive. So in some ways it would be good to have my US pension there as well, but I can't say for certain whether there is an agreement with the US that they will allow for your American pension to be paid directly into the bank here in the Philippines. So that's something that you would have to find out that at source, and that would be pensions in the US. So that's another little trial that you will have to attend to. I have to say that because of being married to a Filipina, you enter into a being cared for situation, and it is true, is that because I've neglected to learn the language, I do operate in a state of what did he say? What happened? What? So I say what a lot, and that's because I don't speak the language. Now, if I can make one aside on this video, which is about banking, if I can make an aside, I think that was, on my part, was a big mistake. I should have made an effort to learn the language straight away, and I would probably be fluent now had I continued and studied. As it is, I have a few phrases which are, I only trot these phrases out when people ask me, do you speak, how long have you been here? First is the shame marker, and then do you speak the language? Oh, so you must speak the language. And then comes the hanging of the head, in which I admit that I don't speak the language, except for a very little. And that is that I have, and what would that be, is the next question. And then I can say, akong asawa guapa. Well, akong asawa guapa, asawa is wife, and guapa is beautiful, and akong relates to me. So it's like I'm saying, I have a beautiful wife, and everybody smiles at that. And of course, then my next question is for them, and I say, guess who taught me that? So I have other little phrases which are only good for me to say to them, to someone else, right? They're no good for conversation. So I think that if you haven't already started to do it, you should start learning the language that you're going to be speaking. Now, for me, it's Visayan. Now, there's always a question about this. Which language should you use? Which language should you be learning? Now, obviously, there's Tagalog. Tagalog, theoretically, Tagalog is spoken by everybody. But my mother-in-law does not speak well in Tagalog. She understands it because she has been speaking it a little. She speaks Visayan, and that is the language that is mostly spoken. So you've got a choice here. If you learn Tagalog, you can, if this is your want, you can watch the television and you can listen to the news and understand it, because it will be mostly in Tagalog. So you will listen to it and you'll be able to understand it. But as far as everybody else is concerned, from the teller at the bank to the cashier at the supermarket, everybody else will be speaking in Visayan. Now, the other thing, of course, is that as you get on in years, which I've been told might be happening to me anytime soon, is that the hearing is not so good. For me, because I've been a musician for most of my life and spent a lot of time, at one point 7 years on the road with a band where the amplification was too loud, and the hearing suffers. And where the hearing does start to deteriorate, it's at the top end, where the higher frequencies put the edge on the words. So you hear the words, but they're rounded and they're not as clear. Whereas when it's very trebly, the word has real edge to it, and you can hear it much better. And if you've ever watched our friend Alfred talking, you'll see an extreme of that he actually doesn't get the word at all, even when it's in English. But then, of course, English is not his first language anyway, so he has a double thing there to get over. So, but anyway, in my particular case, I really wish that I had learned the language, and I am resolved now to do that. I am going to learn to speak Visayan, because I actually feel that I'm missing out on a huge amount of the life here by not speaking the language. The children don't talk to me as much as if I spoke their language. If I spoke their language, they would speak quite naturally. But because I'm English speaking, yes, it's very good for them because they're learning the language of English, and because of me, there is so much more English is spoken around the place that they are pretty good on English. But that's not helping me, and they will, under duress, they will talk to me conversationally, but they don't have the same enthusiasm as I'm sure that they would have if they were speaking their own language. So it really is up to you to learn the language. And even though you can get along very, very well, like I have for 7 years, I've been getting along fine. I don't have any trouble when I go out of making myself understood, because Filipinos are actually much, much better at speaking English than they will allow themselves to accept. So apart from when I go into a place, say a baker's, where you're not expecting to speak to a college graduate behind the counter, you wouldn't have any trouble if you go into the bank, because they're all college graduates, and as part of their job they're very good in English. But go into the baker's and it's not so easy, because even though the girl who is serving you may actually be very good in English, she'll be very shy. There's a natural reserve that Filipinos have when they're addressing a foreigner, because they think that their English is not good enough and that you will be critical of them. Whereas I always tell people, I wish that my Visayan was even a quarter or a third or a half as good as I know your English is, and that makes them feel a little better. Okay, so much for my lost 10,000 at the moment. We'll survive, but I really could do without the bother of having to go in and argue my case, because I seem to remember at this particular bank that when it happened the last time, they actually started saying it's really up to you to go to your bank to sort this out. So much for cyberspace and the travel of our money through it. It's a mystery. So thanks for looking in, and make sure when you do come out here that you have a brand new ATM card, brand new, and take care of it, because if you have, as I once had a few years ago, the magnetic strip on it began to peel at one of the edges. So finally, when it went into the ATM machine, it was catching and alerting a response within the machine to the point where it would not pay out. So I had a card that was useless to me. Even though I did try to repair it, that didn't work for long. It took several months for me to get a replacement. They sent me a replacement, but they sent it to my former address in Fort Myers. They said, what's the point of sending it to my former address and yes, everybody was very apologetic, but it took a couple of months, I think, to get sorted out, during which time I couldn't get any money. So you've got to be prepared for these things and have a little reserve. So thanks for looking in, and bye for now.